Ďakujem veľmi pekne, tak ak teda dovolíte, prepnem rovno do angličtiny, keďže máme tu aj hostí, ktorí budú súčasťou panelu, ktorí bohužiaľ nerozprávajú po slovensky, ale robíme všetko preto, aby sa to zmenilo časom. Ďakujem veľmi pekne, takže ja by som začala naozaj len... So I will just start with a very brief introduction to the research. We are super happy and super excited and very thankful that this year's Human Forum also hosted our final conference of the Bridge Project. Bridge Project is the Horizon Europe research project. It's the biggest research project that the University of Matej was coordinating. Now we have also bigger projects, but we are quite happy that we kick off with this important project. I will not bother you with all the analysis data methods we used. It's not the forum for this, but I would like to share with you just very briefly and to kick off our discussion today. So please, next slide. So I would like to show you the two maps that are showing how institutions and innovations are actually very much interconnected. In one map, you can see the quality of institutions in all European regions. And in the second map, you can see those regions that are doing very well in terms of innovations and those that are not. As you can see, you can really see very clear pattern that the regions that are doing very well in institutions are also doing very well in innovations. So just very short message, please, next slide. What I would like to tell you that no regions without good institutions actually cannot be very innovative. That's the main message, that actually the research was quite complicated. It was 2 years of analysis, all the regions in the whole European Union. We used bunch of data, but I will not bother you with all these details. But I just want to highlight that the quality of government is very important for the regional development. Actually, is the crucial thing. So now, please, let me start with our discussion, which I think will be great. My colleagues know me that I'm super efficient, so this will be also, I hope, a very nice discussion that you will enjoy. Of course, we will have a space for your questions. So first, please let me invite our first guest is Erik Jones. Is a professor and director of the Robert Schuman Center for Advanced Studies in the European University Institute, and he is also a non-resident scholar at Carnegie Europe. His latest book is a Cambridge element titled From Club to Commons, Enlargement, Reform and Sustainability in European Integration, together with Veronika Angel. Professor Jones is also co-editor or editor of more than 30 books and special issues of journals on topics related to European politics, political economy, and transatlantic relations. His commentary has appeared in numerous outlets, including Financial Times, New York Times, and other major newspapers across Europe and North America, and he's a great expert, so he's the first guest for us today. The second panelist is Martin Kahanec. He is a professor at the Department of Public Economy and at the Central European University in Vienna. He is a member of the group of Chief Scientific Advisor to the European Commission as the first representative in Slovakia. He is the founder and scientific director of the Central European Labour Study Institute, and he is also an affiliated researcher at the University of Economics in Bratislava. Professor Kahanec is the 2025 laureate of the Asset Science Award as an outstanding personality in science. His research focuses on labor markets, inequality, and the quality of working conditions. Together with his team, he developed a methodology for calculating a decent wage, which is not only an economic indicator, but also a key tool for ensuring decent living conditions and fostering human potential. His research has a strong social dimension. It shows how public policies can be designed to promote an efficient economy, empower vulnerable groups, and strengthen social cohesion. So please invite him, Martin. Our third guest is Michal Mešťan. Michal Mešťan is Dean of the Faculty of Economics at Matej University in Banská Bystrica. He is also the founder of the Talent and Research Center at Matej University in Slovakia and member of the CFA Society in Slovakia. His research focuses on fintech, long-term investing, investment strategies, portfolio management, pension economics, and pension finances. As a dean, he is committed to supporting the development of both soft and analytical skills among students in economic-oriented programs, fostering cooperation with industry in education, and improving the employability of graduates. So now we will start our discussion on political promises and economic reality, how authoritarian and populist tendencies shape the future of the economy. So thank you very much for accepting our invitation, and it's a great pleasure to have you here. So just for the beginning, maybe, how do you see the relationship between the quality of democracy and economic performance today? Do you think that strong economic growth can coexist with democratic backsliding, or it's not possible? What's your opinion on this?
Okay, someone has to start, so good morning. Alrighty, very good. Good morning. Someone has to start. Being an economist, I feel responsible for this question. It's a very important question, and the relationship between democracy, its quality of institution, and economic prosperity is absolutely crucial. There is much evidence which shows that democratic institutions, inclusive institutions which foster, enable trust, collaboration, also enable development, also enable realization of the potentials of the assets of the investment in regions and in countries. What we also see is that this works through coordination of all kinds of actors, but this also works through incentives and expectations, and in terms of how we trust how we believe in the future, in prosperity of the region or country. And this we know very well in Slovakia, where we have students live in the country, where we have talent live in the country. That is a crucial aspect to this. And when you talk to these students, when you talk to these people, you realize that this is a key factor for their decisions. Is the quality of institutions, how they see their future in the country. And also to say, I leave the floor to the other panelists, but just to also say on the negative that quality of democracy is not only enabling, but it also prevents negative outcomes, participative institutions and participative democracy. And this goes back to the works of, say, Sen or others who highlight the role of democracy, liberal democracy, in preventing some groups being left out, and this resonates from prosperity and from economic opportunities, and this resonates very well with what the introductory speeches were also very much about, that democracy and participation is crucial to avoid polarization and the kind of troubles which then backfire back into the erosion of democracy. I stop here.
All right, so the economist has spoken. And as a political scientist, I'm going to take over the whole dismal science thing and give you the bad news, which is that institutions are not going to save us. They're just not. We can have the best constitutional arrangement in the world, and if the people don't believe in it, it's not going to work. And this is the problem. Kamila asked the question about democratic institutions and political backsliding and how that affects economic performance. And the answer is, well, democracy is what gave us globalization, and globalization seemed like a really good idea. Gave us market economies, and that seemed like a really good idea. But we didn't understand the full implications of that really good idea. And those full implications changed our politics. So what was democratic is no longer democratic because of the economic consequences of the decisions that we made. And these were not economic consequences that we expected. We got growth. our societies are richer. We got low inflation. Our societies are cheaper. But we also got inequality. That was not supposed to happen. And so our societies divided. And that division is what we face. That and the bad political actors who take advantage of that division to turn us against one another and against our institutions. And that's why institutions won't save us, because we are tearing them down rather than shoring them up in this particular context. Democratic backsliding is the result of the success of our economic models and the unintended consequences that success brought with it.
I fully agree with you guys, and maybe I would like to look at some connection between the, or my opinion about the populist leaders, which is mainly see in many European countries nowadays. As we know, the current economic situation in the EU is not good, and the forecast is also not so good. And I'm not sure if I mentioned one person from our history who used very effectively the negative economic outlook, and it was Adolf Hitler. I'm not sure if somebody in this room read the Mein Kampf. Probably not. And I don't want to promote this book and also this person. But when I was 18 years old, I read this book because I want to know why people in Germany follow this leader. I have a very good teacher of history in elementary school, and they teach me that if you have to know your history, but not only the fact, but what was what caused what happened in history. And to be honest, I do not finish this book because I don't understand why people accept everything what was written in this book and why they follow. But when I think more deeply, I understand that these people was desperate. It was very tough for them to feed their children. And I am not a father now, but I know that for father, mothers, and so on, for families, it's very, very important to take care about their family. And if they are not able to cover the element needs in our life, we look at the person who are able to provide us the very way how to solve our problems. And when we discuss this topic, are we overestimating the economic competence of populist leaders? I think so that if the economic situation is good and the level of our lives growing, we do not accept the populist leaders because we do not need solve as much problems as possible. But nowadays we see that lots of people also in Slovakia and also in many other countries have a big problem with their lives, find jobs with high paid jobs. And this is the space where the populists came and provide us very simple solutions. And I think so that this is the big problem. And I think so if we will have a bad economic situation, more people will trust these populist leaders.
Would you like to react, someone of you, on this, what was said? Actually, that was very, well, I did not expect your example, but you very properly pointed that if people feel to be left behind or that they feel desperate, they very often follow the populist leaders who are promoting very easy solutions, and they often claim that they return the economy to people. But in practice, do their policies redistribute wealth or just concentrate power? What's your opinion on this?
Yeah, I think This is on, right? Yeah. I think, Michal, I think you've got it exactly right. It's, you know, the complicated answers that we had turned out to be even more complicated than we imagined. So it's hard for me to believe that the simple answers that populists offer are going to get us anywhere good. I think that's going to be a bad situation. But if you look at what they're doing, they offer simple solutions, and then they begin to change institutions to concentrate power. I think you're absolutely right about that, Kamila. And they want to concentrate power to escape accountability because they know these simple solutions are not going to work. And they know that they will lose power if they retain democratic institutions in the face of that kind of failure. And so what they do is they concentrate power and concentrate messaging, take away your press freedom so that they can tell you it's all good. America is great again, you might say. And that's a terrifying message to hear when you know the reality is very different.
Okay, so there was this very important point which is about some people feeling abandoned on the way to prosperity and democracy. And yesterday there was it's the 36th anniversary of the revolution, and in this room probably we all have benefited in many ways, economically, in terms of our rights, abilities, opportunities. But this is not universal, yes? And I totally agree with you in that aspect, that it's the globalization, technological change, democracy, free competition, whatnot, which has in many ways resulted in this, and also deterioration of institutions which are there to support this model. But the limitation is that there are winners and losers in this process, and we have disconnected from those who are less privileged, and that then fits into polarization and then creates rents, creates opportunities for populism to exploit this kind of cleavages in the society. And yeah, what you said about populism, it's very often it comes with the rhetoric of taking care of those people, and so there is an appeal to those people who feel abandoned by the elites, that someone eventually cares. But the problem is that actually concentrates power, that redistributes to the in groups, yes, the elites who are on that side of the populist elites, political elites, and that further deteriorates the problem because it actually doesn't solve the problem of the society which is divided. And then it's also really difficult to find ways out of this because it's a little bit of a trap. But I leave that for maybe later. But yeah, for now, this.
Maybe I will provide a short answer. Milton Friedman in 80s said that nothing like free lunch does not exist. So this party have to be paid finally. And I think so that in many countries across the Europe we see that it's not popular to government to decrease the expenditures which are given to the large group of people or for the majority of population in each country. So this is the big problem. And unfortunately, I know that a lot of people don't like if I spoke about the state like a company, but in some cases we need to manage a country like a company because we have limited sources, and we have some countries in the world like Norway and the Saudi Arabia, which have another source of money coming from different materials, but countries like Slovakia or any other countries, we have only one source of money, and it was the taxes. And taxes were paid by people, by companies, and we need to understand that each country should spend as much money as they can, as they are able to collect from the people, and we cannot spend more money than we are able to generate in economy. So the economic growth should be higher than growth of expenditure in country. Unfortunately, as I mentioned, it's a big problem not only in Slovakia but in many countries, and I do not see the light in the future. It will be changed because, as I mentioned, when economic situation of households decrease, they don't want to hurt that, okay, give us 10 years because we have to make some structural reform in country, and then we'll be okay. So this is a big problem.
Yeah, thank you very much for your points. But what happens when independent economic institutions like central banks, fiscal councils, or statistical offices or others become politicized? What can we do then? And do you think that the European Union is actually equipped to respond when national governments pursue economically unsustainable populist agendas? What's your opinion on this?
All right, I'll take the first part and I'll leave the second to Erik, the one on the European institutions, if you don't mind. The first part about the role of independent institutions, well, the ecosystem of policymaking, of checks and balances, of the need for an independent central bank, which was a big lesson from the 60s and 70s and the oil shocks, etc. Well, that plays an enormous role. Now, if this ecosystem is compromised by deterioration of those institutions, we are losing the benefits from those institutions, obviously, and the role is important. It comes to good governance. It comes to availability of data. It comes to trust. It comes to the trust in their role, how they act, what they say, and that undermines the whole ecosystem of economic governance and the system of checks and balances, and in general that also then feeds into the deterioration of democracy, because one aspect that is very important for democracies to work is that it brings prosperity, and it brings prosperity in an equitable way, and it generates trust in institutions which are supporting that model. And if they are deteriorating, this breaks down, trust erodes, and with all the consequences I already mentioned. So their role is crucial, and they are underpinning the economic policy as we know it.
So I'm going to go back to that first thing I said, where institutions are not going to save us by themselves. I think Martin has just put his finger on the real thing. We need to be able to trust the politicians who appoint the people who run the institutions. That's the key thing. Because you can have a politically independent central bank, but if your political authorities appoint someone to run the politically independent central bank who's not qualified or who's not going to be politically independent, then the institution actually works against you, because you can't change that person once you recognize that they're incompetent. This was the great secret that Viktor Orban discovered, right? Or Recep Tayyip Erdogan, when he basically appointed himself governor of the central bank for a while. And so you look at the situation, you go, this is not good. And then you ask yourself, okay, well, what about countries that have done really well? Italy had the fastest growth in post-war Europe and the lowest inflation in post-war Europe at a time when its central bank was not politically independent. So it is possible. But we have to have really good politicians. And that's true all the way up to the top. The European Union is not going to save us as a union unless we send the best and the brightest to work in European institutions, unless we equip that European Union, and unless we trust those politicians to do the right thing. And that trust is very difficult for them to earn and very difficult for us to give. But without it, what's our alternative? We can't create rules to replace the absence of trust. We must work together. That's why we're here at the Human Forum, because this is where we come back to basics and embrace the reality only people are going to save us. Now we have to figure out which people those are.
Thank you. It seems that we are, as a country, in a big trouble if our populist leaders are not appointing right people into the institutions. But then maybe the questions to all of you, are we then underestimating their long-term institutional impact? Because in the long term, it cannot work. So what's your opinion on this? It's not easy.
Okay, I mean, I thought you were going to say something, but well, this is. I think this is very clear. So, in some sense, not that I have a comprehensive answer here, but yes, in a short run, things can continue. There is a lot of inertia in the country, in the economy, and things can go for some time. They can appear to go well, but then the problems that Erik that been already mentioned here, they kick in and they start to really matter. If we don't select, people for the institutions, if there are flaws in the institutional setup, well, that will show sooner or later, and in the long run, that's where this starts kicking in. The trouble is that if there is this erosion of trust in the process, then it's difficult to rebuild it. So the effects not only extend to that moment where we realize the problem, but then rebuilding. So one of the key issues with the deterioration of institutions and who is in the institution is that then people not only lose trust in the institution, but also in what it means to be part of that institution, what it means to be what it means to be, what are the part or the leader of the institution, the people who are appointed to run those institutions, and then some people say, okay, this is not my business. I don't trust this. I back up. I never go into this role because this is just when I see who's there and how this functions, I don't want to invest in that kind of thing. And so this is also this feedback channel through self-selection and through people's expectations. Do I want to be the next minister of something, or do I want to do this, or do I want to invest my time into this expertise of this unit of the ministry if I see that, well, it's very short-lived and the political and personal risk are so high. So that is super important. And more specific about Slovakia, we see some of this. We've seen this with the analytical units, how they were targeted, affected initially, then they recovered a little bit, so it's kind of stabilized in some sense, but it's not great, yes? And some of them have been reinstituted, but initially we could see that blow, and we could see how much talent we have lost from those. And then when you ask people, we ran with my wife an institute in Bratislava, and we were competing for talent, which was going also to those institutions, those analytical units. Now we don't have this competition. It's good for us, yes, but it's not good for the country that those people sort of that kind of career has become less attractive. And so this is super important, that it's about building institutions, but also making sure that they attract talents and that the best of the best are appointed to run them, and the effects are long run and the result of inertia in that, through expectations, through people's reaction to what they see. on the positive, not all the institutions are in this, thanks God that we can still see. And this is, okay, this becomes super important now also in Slovakia, those institutions which are still running well, and they are holding the flag high, yes, and they give us hope that okay, not everything is in despair, everything is going down, but there are a few of them, and that's very precious, yes. So their value for the society is now enormous, and we see those, and that's an important struggle to keep them up and high.
May I ask you, yes, we are in trouble. Of course, but we are not alone in this trouble. Yeah, let's be honest. That from Poland to Portugal, we all are in trouble. And do you think that this being in trouble is some kind of global synchronization of this political and economic populism, or is the response to globalization, to technological disruptions, or the crisis of representations? Because we touched this a bit.
I don't think so that the government representatives synchronize their action. I don't think so, but we have to look at the current economic situation in each country and what caused this action. I know that many countries in the European Union has different leaders, like Slovakia has now, but what I see and what I also read about this situation in scientific papers or literature is that the people still want to more. It's what we are, and we still have more. And when we get get into some level, when maybe the non-populist leaders know that okay, this is the good for us, we are on the stable level, we have high-paid jobs and so on. We have good education system, we have good healthcare system. Still, somebody in this population go public and say that we still have more and we still feel better. And that's big problem for democracy, because I think so that this is the big problem for democracy, because it's fine to have to be hungry, it's fine to want to be better and have more, but it's very dangerous also, because when somebody focus on target that I want more, I want to be more happy, they forgot on limitation of this thinking. And what we can see in these countries, we saw that when we look at the statistics, the current economic situation in Slovakia is much better than that was our situation 36 years ago, but still we have plenty of populists who say that it is not. It was better, much better, 36 years ago, because everybody have everything. I was born in 1991, so I do not remember this situation. But also, I have very hard discussion with my members of our family who live in this 36 years ago, and it is really difficult, because what is the big problem in each country is that people do not understand what is democracy, what is the economic freedom, and that's the big problem.
I just, Michal, I think what you just said is so important, right? I mean, we don't really know what democracy is, or what aspect of democracy we really want to preserve, right? Because it's not a particular electoral system, it's not a particular way of forming a government, There are many different things about democracy that we can trade off one for another. Just look at all the democratic countries and their constitutional arrangements, and you'll see there's just enormous variety. But there's one thing that we have to believe in to have a democracy. We have to believe that when we get into office, we can afford to leave office, right? And that when our enemies or our opponents or whoever they are get into office, they will agree to leave office, right? Because if we think that once we get into power, we can never leave power or we'll be killed or imprisoned or whatever, then we're going to stay in power forever and democracy is dead. If we think that if they get elected, they're never going to leave power, then we can't let them get elected, right? So we can't have democracy anymore. Democracy is dead. So the one thing that we need for democracy is trust in everybody else. And this is the big point in this conversation. Trust is essential to innovation. That was Kamila's point leading off. That's why we need these good institutions to have trust so that we can create new things. Trust is essential to prosperity. This was Martin's point at the start, right? You know, we have to have market institutions, but market institutions mean you have to trust other people are going to abide by the rules and not try to poison you with the food you eat. And so we have to have trust, and we have to have trust for our political institutions. Now, I keep talking about trust. Imagine if trust were water, and we were in a situation where we all looked around and said, the water is disappearing. What would we do? We would get organized to conserve water, to save ourselves from dying of thirst. That's what Elinor Ostrom won the Nobel Prize for, trying to understand how people organize themselves when their common pool resources start to disappear. Well, trust is our common pool resource. We can't live without it. We have to get organized. It's not a question of creating democracy or creating an economy. It's a question of creating trust, and then those other things flow from it, right? This is the big takeaway. If we don't get organized for trust, then where are we? And that's why I think this human form thing is so important, because the whole point of the exercise is to build trust that we can live together and trade power without getting killed somewhere in the process. I think this is really important.
If I may add to this, I want to underscore that part of democracy, which is the change of who's in the power. And we remember well in this country, even Matej is waving and on TV, but so far so good. I mean, we've had this transition after elections every time, in contrast to say what we've seen in the US. And this, when I saw what happened in the US, that was a disaster unfolding in front of my eyes, where there was the run on the Capitol, and that was when you know, we can discuss democracy in many aspects of it, but that particular point was in my view very important. Now, speaking about trust, that's very important. It's been mentioned already, but there was one other word which resonated in the opening speeches, which I want to highlight, is because trust enables collaboration, and enables us, to invest in certain institutions and economic opportunities, human capital, send our kids to schools. But there is this other part to this, which is hope, which is a kind of vision that we have about the future as this making sense. And interpreting what I've been seeing here, or we've been seeing here in Slovakia, well, there was a clear, in my view, success story of a country which didn't exist at the beginning of the 20th century, and then in early 2000s has joined the club of the rich and rich countries at its very core. So there is. We can hardly, it would be difficult to see this as some kind of disaster, or not something else than a success story. But then and you remember, those of you who lived through the 90s, you may remember this unifying theme. When I talk to people and I tell them, look, I come from Rožňava, and my hometown unemployment was more than 30%, and the whole thing with the whole infrastructure, economic institutions were crumbling. But people tell me, well, yes, but compared to current situation, we had hope. We had hope that things were going to improve, and I think they are very, very right. And the one unifying vision we had in the 90s was returning to Europe. You may remember that how that resonated through all kinds of parts of the society, returning to Europe. But then actual fulfillment of that dream, in a way, in many ways, created a little bit of vacuum, and then the elites didn't fill that vacuum with, okay, what's the next vision? What's the next to trust? What's the next vision for this country? And now that's the Slovak story, but then we have the broader story, which Kamila alluded to, and that's very important. That sometimes we have the tendency, me included, but what I see is that we tend to interpret what we see in Slovakia as in some way unique, or some way exceptional, different. But then you look around in Europe and you see what's happening in other countries, and then you realize that actually this discussion that we're having now, the realization of the fragilities, of the limitations of the model of development, of democracy, and the sort of globalization, technological change, how that erodes some of the underpinning institutions that we've been living through, and how we realize those fragilities, a little bit of I can call it panic, but okay, a little bit. But that's what we share with Europe. That's what we share with developed democracies and West. And so that's actually a confirmation that's our space. That is our world, and that's where we belong to, because you go around and you see what's happening in the US, but you see what's happening in AfD, Kickle, Le Pen, and I could go on and on with this. And so the struggles are slightly different national contexts, different histories, but the crisis of democracy, of liberal democracy, taking many forms, but the unifying theme is that we all are going through this in Europe and in the West, and that's actually in some way a tough message, but also a positive, that there is not much exception here in Slovakia. This is our world. We have returned to Europe, yes, and these are the struggles we have to go through, and we have to deal with them and take good care of making sure that we actually succeed in this.
Thank you so much, Martin, for a bit of hope, because it started to look a bit depressive, these discussions. Thank you very much for also pointing the trust. And this will be my last questions, and then we will ask the audience also to ask the questions. But what do you think that civil society, academia, European integration, or media can do for all of us to build the trust and to bring a bit of hope? I think it's a bit tricky. You can pick up whatever you think, but please try to, each of you, come up with something, some good message how to build the trust and bring a bit of, at least sip of hope, yes? Maybe Erik, you can start it.
Okay. Since I've been so gloomy, look, as an academic, I have a terrible tendency to take a simple word like trust and then turn it into some complicated concept that has to be studied in very difficult ways. But let's face it, trust is really simple, right? Trust is, I do what I say I'm going to do, right? I know that sounds hard, but think about it. For the media, what do you want them to do? You want them to tell you what they know, right? You want them to tell you the truth. And so long as the media tells you the truth and you can trust that they're going to look for the truth before they tell it to you, that's a big step forward, right? And what we're seeing in the United States is they're running backward, away from the truth. That's not good. We need to put them in the other direction. I think the same is true with politicians. If politicians actually do what they say they're going to do and tell you what they're going to do in advance, that would be a good thing. It's not hard. It may not get them elected, but that's the whole point. If we don't want them to do these things, we should not elect them, right? And so they should tell us what they're going to do so that we elect the person who's going to do what we want. I don't know. That seems to make sense to me. So I think we could do that. And this is where civil society comes in. Now, civil society, I got to say, ain't always a good thing. I was born and raised in the South in the United States. The most prominent form of civil society was the Ku Klux Klan, right? Not good. They were very consistent, though. They did exactly what they said they were going to do. It's just I didn't want them to do that. So we need to promote the kind of civil society that does the things we want civil society to do, that puts the emphasis on civil and on society. And I think that is another part of building trust. We should be explicit when we join these organizations. We want them to do good things. I'll leave you with an anecdote. When I grew up, the National Rifle Association in the United States is what taught all of us how to use guns safely. And part of using guns safely meant keeping them in an armory outside of your home and not in your car. How did the National Rifle Association that I grew up with become an organization dedicated to ensuring that people carry concealed weapons everywhere? That's crazy. Civil society changed 180 degrees in that respect. And we have to be very careful of civil society to make sure it does what we want it to do and not something terribly different. I think that would be my message of hope. It's all on us.
Shall I? You want to go? Okay. So, of course, a big question, yes, for which there is no simple answer. I think there are a couple of important elements of this, and it's like, what should we do tomorrow to do this? And I say, well, immediately we should stop the spiral of depression and of what I call evangelium zmaru in Slovak, which is like that we don't differentiate, we don't see the positive things, we don't see, hope is of course. Hope is that we do something meaningful, even without knowing, being sure that there is positive outcomes. But if we stop differentiating, if we stop seeing positive things that are happening, then it's becoming more and more difficult. And so the first message would be let's differentiate. Speaking about, say, universities, I mean, what you hear everywhere, oh, don't go there, go somewhere else because they're not good enough. And I say, well, no, I'm at the Slovak universities. I'm a couple of them. I work with fantastic people, and I can tell you, now we had as a short story, I have a student graduating in Vienna and wasn't accepted to a PhD program in Vienna, but I could with my deep conviction, I could tell him, go study in Bratislava. There is a very good program. I go to Košice, I go to Banská Bystrica, and I see fantastic people. So this kind of differentiation, which is very important. Then the second thing is very stretched generalizations is sometimes what we do. We see something, something negative, some small thing. They don't split your bill in the pub, and then say, "Oh, this is because Slovakia," or "Oh, this is because." It's like, oh, okay, I'm sorry. These generations we are, and you can see these narratives that we are generalizing too much, which sort of undermines our collective sense of what we're doing. Sense we belong to a certain community, we live in a certain space, and our efforts make sense. So there are this, very, very many things we could do, but the one bottom line, which I continue repeating, is that never give up working with the young people and never lose trust in them and their abilities. And this is not another sort of wishful thinking. I meet students every day, sort of, but I also go to, say, Revuca, talk to students at the gymnasium, and I must tell you, this is what was mentioned. I was very pleased when Mr. Lundner mentioned this in his speech, because that's exactly my sense of universities, but also secondary school. So you go talk to these students, and they're absolutely fantastic, and that potential is absolutely great, and we should enable and empower that potential for the benefit of the society and our future, and part of the hope thing.
Democracy was, is, and will be led by people. Not politicians can create democracy. They create and set the rules, which have to be the same for each person in each country. And I think so that a lot of people forgot this idea of democracy. And if we would like to save the democracy for the future, we have to, as Martin and Erik say, that we need to discuss with the people. We have to explain them that what is the democracy. This is not the system where somebody take care about you. Okay, I agree that in some cases we have to take about some group of people, but we have to explain that each person in the state, in this alliance, have to take care about yourself, and with this work will add something to the community. And I think so, and I'm so happy, and I will finish my response with some good news. And I agree with Martin that the next generation that we have of young people in Slovakia, it is very important generation for Slovakia, and we need to provide them as much information as possible. We need to show them what the liberal democracy is, because it's a beautiful thing. They open lots of opportunities for us, but we need to catch this opportunity and work very very hard on it. And we cannot wait that somebody help us.
Thank you very much. I think this was very fruitful and full of hope, I think. Yeah, so I also hope we have some questions from the audience, I'm sure. Yes, Chila, you are best. So Chila has a question. Where is Mike? Mm-hmm.
Maybe not just a question. Conference is about the discussion and sharing the ideas. I have a lot of notes and a big mess in it. At first, maybe what I would like to mention, that maybe we should stop to talk very much about how we divided are. Because if we will listening always that we are divided, we will be divided. And also since beginning of this conference, we told this many times. And I don't think that the society is really divided about the building democracy. It's divided just who hating who, you know. So, I believe that democracy is built by active people, active and responsible citizens. And active and responsible citizens, they don't hate, or they don't have time even and energy to hate anybody, because they want to be useful, they want to work, they want to be useful part of society and to be part of the economic growth also, you know, and success. And we maybe should take more attention to people. They want to be part of the of democracy and of the economical growth in the country. And not to tell them, oh, you have a different opinion, then the society is divided. So I think we are a little bit on the wrong way. Maybe we should work on changing this. And why I think civic society, what I know in Slovakia, why there are, I think we have a successful civic society in Slovakia, and I think because we really still feel free. The freedom of civic society in Slovakia is, I think, very, very high. And the freedom is about that who is active, that people are leading the stuff. These can be the same for the country. So who is active? That people are leading the country. And if we will take away, because we are talking about the institutions, and I think if we will push away people, they want to be active from the institutions, then the country will be led by the people they are close, or they can be close to institutions. So I think we need a little bit to change these how we work with all this. And as I told, I have a big mess in this my paper. But yeah, one more mention. What I would like to mention about the globalization. I completely agree that the globalization is not easy to build trust, because trust is built by on personal relations, and no globalization, no central institution have really personal relations. So the trust is the easiest to build on local level, and for that reason we feel very important to work on local level and to build a local strong civic society communities, because they can be part of the trustful managing the local economic growth also. So we need to find a balance between the globalization and the diversity of the managing the economical system. And what I liked what Kamila mentioned, that good to be together in the trouble. So we are, and we will share our positions. But also, not in our town civic movement, we had that we together are more. So if we will collaborate together, we can make more. And this is what maybe we show, or we have been showed last more than 10 years, that the collaboration is really very important, and to share the different opinions and to look for the balance, what I'm talking about. So my question, because I should take question, is if we have still enough opportunities, or we do feel that we have enough opportunities to make these changes, or to be on this good way of good changes, and how big trouble we are really. So maybe I know it will be maybe some own feeling, but it's also important, because the trust is about also the own feeling. My answer for this question is that we do feel that we still have a lot of opportunities, and we can change a lot of stuff. Yesterday we had a nice discussion with Martin Kahanec in Zahrada with students from our university. We have great students in our university and our faculty. So I still feel, and we are full of hope, and the civic society in Slovakia and also in Banská Bystrica are great people, hard workers. So my feeling is that we are on good way, but how you do feel what way we are? And I didn't want to tell my answer to your mouth, so thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sheila. I think this deserves applause, because this was very many important points which I very much share. I want to pick up on two ideas that you mentioned. One is the divide, yes? And I totally agree that, when I programmatically, I talk to people from all kinds of, worlds, or kinds, from the urban, rural, whatever, yes, as well. And talking to them, you realize that actually it's not so much fundamental divide, and they want to have good, decent living, and they want to have some opportunities, but it's another sort of underlying fundamental divide, that they are somehow different, and there is some kind of fundamental divide. Yes, I agree with that, and we need to realize that the divisions or the disconnects are we can build bridges, and that's even maybe not that difficult, but we must not give up on that. Yes, because sometimes we are giving up. But that fits into your other point, which is maybe even more important, and that is that we are not in a desperate situation. There is a lot of good things that we see. There is a lot of energy, and the points I tried to make also before is that, well, that's why I'm so much against the kind of collective depression and the kind of feeling that, and this kind of, that we're losing hope, because that actually is the key trouble, or the key that works against us in our ability to actually recognize the potential, to recognize the possible changes and interventions which would be actually enabling us to deal with the challenges. But the opportunities are there. The many. Yes, we are free to think. And when you see the mobilization that there is, yes, Slovaks, if you take Slovakia, we've never had such good lives okay, there's variation, yes, of course. Different communities, they have their difficulties, but we see that look at statistics, unemployment, but we do feel the fragilities, we do feel the problems. But what you see is mobilization across the board. You see the Human Forum, but you see many other fora. You see that people are talking about this in Slovakia and beyond. And so yes, and in this spirit, we should continue dealing with this. And not fall into the trap of losing hope, the collective depression, because that is actually undermining, and that may start fueling a negative spiral, which we don't want.
Would you like to react, maybe, Erik? Or Michal, of course?
Just, Jilly, your comments were a perfect advertisement for the rest of the program. In the sense that I know Joseph Mintal is going to talk a little bit about the voting advice application, and one of the things that the voting advice application has taught us is that a voting advice application is where you answer a bunch of questions about issues that are important in an election, and then it tells you where you are closest to a political party and where the other parties are relative to you. And one of the most fascinating things is that when you see how close you are to all these different political parties, you actually fear these other political parties a lot less. And so academic work that studies this is actually having a huge impact on diminishing what we call effective polarization, which is academic speak for I hate you, right? And it diminishes that I hate you thing. The other thing I would say is to your question about whether we have any opportunity. I know Zsuzsa Zeleny is here. She's devoted her life to creating an opportunity in the most adverse of circumstances. And I think we never don't have an opportunity, right? And I know Philip Thayer is here, and he can tell us that in history we faced much greater adversity, right? And also at the micro level, right? He studies shipbuilding. My goodness, that is the universe of adversity, right? And so I think you've put together a really strong program to answer the questions that you pose, and I look forward to hearing what they have to say.
Thank you very much for your points and discussion. So maybe we have...
Máme tu ešte jednu otázočku.
Good morning, my name is Miroslav Mizer. I represent here a project in our NGO, Hoaxy a Podvody, or Hoaxes and Frauds, dealing with disinformation. Thank you very much for your speeches. My question is, and comment as well, beside other things, we do also lectures and discussions with students at elementary, high schools, universities, and each and every time, also in Banská Bystrica and the universities and with public as well. And at each and every lecture, I argue that you should, or we should try to trust institutions, as Timothy Snyder, British historian, says, protect institutions because they are here to set the rules and enforce the rules. And what you said, Mr. Jones, would sound quite pessimistic for me, because, well, optimistic on one side that it's up to us because institutions won't save us in the end. I argue all the time that, for example, when you are ill, you go to doctors. When you are not feeling safe, you go to the police. But if we didn't have institutions, it would be hard to have any rules at all. So my question would be how to find maybe some symbiosis between individual and these institutions. Yeah, basically that's it. Thank you.
What a brilliant question, yeah? I think so.
So Miroslav, I'm totally with you on the value of institutions. I think we absolutely have to have institutions. I think we're at a weird point in time where what we lack are conservatives, like real conservatives, the kind that want to preserve institutions, right? What we have are radicals on the right and on the left that want to tear down institutions, and they're competing with each other to see how quickly they can tear these institutions down, and then we're going to realize that we have to build them up again, right? And so the challenge is not to trust in institutions, the challenge is to trust in each other to use the institutions correctly. And that's a very difficult trust to build. It's good that you're starting with young people, because young people don't know how to use institutions. That's why they're young, right? And if they want to get old, they'll have to figure it out. And they will. But whether they use institutions well or poorly, that's up to us, right? To help show them the way. I don't want to sound too patronizing in saying that, but I think we do that by example more than by instruction, and by engagement more than by sort of forcing them to memorize. But whatever we do, we've got to do it, right? And so I think Martin is absolutely right. If we don't engage with young people now, then we will have to experience the consequences of that failing in the future, and it's not a consequence that I would welcome.
Maybe I will add some response. I think so that many times we forgot that the institution has their mission, and we have to trust the mission which is of the institution. For example, Ministry of Justice, Ministry of Education, and so on. But in some times, not the best person leading this institution, and it maybe in sometimes it decreased the level of trust of this institution. But when I have a discussion with my students, we speak about mainly about the current situation in some ministries currently. But I told them that you have to trust of the mission of this institution. It's very important. And time to time, not relevant people get to the highest job in this institution, but it's very important, mainly for young generation, that we have an institution which have a very important place, for example, in Slovakia, and maybe next 4 years it will be very tough situation, but we need to look at the long run. Next 4 years are important, but next decade is much more important.
Very briefly, if I may underscore the very important point that Erik has made about the institutions and how different political factions are actually undermining institutions. To give an example from Slovakia, what I see as a part of this process, you have social partners, and the institution to which they are a part is collective bargaining, yes, and that's a way of dealing with, the reconciling all kinds of issues between employers and employees. Now, instead of strengthening collective bargaining institutions, what they had been trying to do was to have connections directly to the government, to the lawmakers, and actually push through the parliament all kinds of amendments, all kinds of laws and changes, even like automated mechanism for minimum wage adjustment. And in that way, so they try to win that struggle, not through the institution that is in the place and that actually enables their, them to represent workers, to represent employers, and go through the process. Instead, they try to do the shortcut and actually resolve that dispute through changing laws, and that is a way of actually undermining an institution, which is very important.
Do we have time for one more question? Yeah.
Áno. Dobrý deň. Ja by som sa chcel opýtať, či si myslíte, že decentralizácia by pomohla k skvalitneniu vzťahu k inštitúciám a zlepšeniu vnútroregionálnych rozdielov. Ďakujem.
Whether the decentralization can help institutions.
Short answer, I think yes. I mean, from my experience, I think generally yes. Of course, there are nuances to this, how and exactly how this is, but in principle, the short answer would be yes. This is a way to go. One of the ways to go. Yes.
Okay, so the long answer. I think we need institutions that are as big as the problems that we face. And so I do believe in decentralization, but I also believe that there are some problems that are bigger than we can solve at a regional level, or at a national level, or even at a European level. And we need to figure out how to do that. Chilla made this point earlier about the need to find the right balance between local identity and global efficiency. And that's a struggle. It's a real struggle because it's very difficult to trust at the global level. But you know what? You can build trust in Europe. It's complicated. It involves lots of exchanges at lots of different levels, but it is possible. And through Europe, you can engage at the global level. I think the only way we're going to see effective climate action is that way. I think the only way we're going to find effective security for Europe is through an effective European Union. We're not going to solve Europe's security problems at the local level. Decentralization is not the solution. So we have to accept and learn how to build trust across countries in Europe if Europe is going to prosper, full stop.
And I also agree that it could help.
Thank you. Me as a regional scientist, I am always on your side with decentralization, yes. But I also agree with Erik. Thank you so much. I think that our time is almost done, yes. So I'm efficient with the time. So now, good news. There is a break, coffee, some refreshments. So thank you very much for joining us this morning. Thank you to Erik, to Martin, to Michal, to joining us. It was a great pleasure. And I have one more very pleasant situation now. Erik, you are part of it, and we as an organizer of the Human Forum as a university, we would really would love to gratefully thank you to EY for your support. We appreciate all the work you've done with us, but also spreading good words about us in Europe, in US. Thank you so much. And just a small gift from our side as appreciation of your support to Human Forum and to protecting human rights and democracy in Central Europe. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you.